We're already set. All right, welcome to the next episode of Build Different. Today we have a special guest, Ricardo Taborda. Welcome to Ricardo. It's
You're
a
the
pleasure to
first
meet you
person to have
finally.
said my name properly.
Yeah, yeah. No, I had to read it twice to actually understand it. So yeah, no. Welcome to this podcast, man. It's a pleasure to meet you. It's a pleasure to have you here today. If you don't mind, let's get right into it. So yeah, for anyone who doesn't know you yet, Ricardo, who is Ricardo, and what does BDR Properties actually do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so BDR Properties is a property investment company. We're essentially deal sourcing company that does project management and gives the guaranteed return for investors at the end. So we're all for one product. So we find them an investment, sort it out, do all the hard work, all the hard labor, and then we also give them a guarantee on the end. So we take the product on at the end from the client. So we become the client's client. And the provider for the guaranteed rent at the end. So they've got the option of having it all or just one of the services if they want. We've not yet had a client that didn't take all the services, but happy to work with people in any way, shape, and form. Me, myself, I was in sales for a few years before I did property, got into property, turned my first property from 70,000 to 280,000.
All right, no, that's great. Um, no, so you say you do property plus also management, correct?
Yes, yes. We've
Okay,
got
that's
w- we've got over 80 tenants in our first 12 months, and in the next 2 months we should have over 120.
that's great. I'm curious, how do you manage to do management and sourcing and at the same time, property projects? Like, how do you equilibrate that?
With a lot of hours each day. I think I wake up normally between 6 and 7, straight into the office because I got the office in where I live. So straight into the office, and then I'll probably log off about between 8 and 11, depending on the day. Depends what's on the telly and night.
All right, no, that's great. That's great. So how did you go from, a normal sales role into full-time property? Like, what was the moment you decided to just say, I'm going all in into property?
So COVID was happening. I'd just got a job at a sofa shop working, selling sofas. I was actually the first member of staff in that store and in the north of England for that company to make over £1 million in sales for them whilst working 24 hours and going to uni at the same time. And then lockdown happened. I was on a commission only basis with a little bit of a salary because I was working part time. I got basically shafted, whilst everyone else that worked full time still got most of their wages because of furlough and stuff. So I wasn't earning as I was earning the most, and then I became earning the least through no fault of my own.
Yeah.
So I looked at other ways of making more money. Not that I needed it, nobody needed money at the time, but I wanted it.
Yeah.
And then property came along, started looking into that, did loads and loads of research in one of the phases of lockdown. Then I went into the next phase and just went and viewed over 100 properties after we were allowed back out again. Viewed 100 properties in the first time that I could. And just from then onwards, after those viewings, actually my third ever viewing, I bought that house. My fifth ever viewing was a lease option agreement that I took on. And then I would say probably like the 200th viewing was the first deal that I sold to a client.
Okay. No, that's great. That's great. Also, I saw that you studied, business and international football business, was actually interesting. Did that help you at all in your property journey at all, or
No, no, not
nothing?
even slightly. No. What that was, I paid for uni for a year, and because of lockdown, I didn't get to do the uni experience that I wanted to do. I've got a qualification for the first year because you get a HNC in the first year. I've got that qualification, but no, it didn't really help. I am technically a fully qualified football agent. I'm not going to use it, but yeah, if I
Yeah.
wanted to do it, it's a career you have to either know somebody or you're building it up for 5, 10, 15, 20 years to be significant or earn a significant wage, what I would call it.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually interesting. We'll actually recommend somebody that is getting into property to study a career or something?
I would, if somebody wanted to study but also thought of getting into property, I would either study construction, not management of it, but actually how it works and the operation side of it, or architecture. If you become a good architect, property becomes easy for you as long as you understand numbers. You have to have the basis of numbers. If you're bad at maths, probably won't even bother unless you're passionate about other parts of property. Because if
Yeah,
you don't understand the maths behind it, that's all it is. It's just moving numbers here, making numbers work here, and then operations is the other big part.
yeah, no, exactly. All right, no, that's great. And okay, now getting into property strategy, walk me through your current module that is BRR, flips, HMOs, service acquisition, all this kind of stuff, and the property finance service. Like, what is the main focus for you right now and why?
So there isn't a specific main focus, but right now what I'm looking for is more investors to either joint venture with or just to sell deals to. Main reason being we've gone through a huge expansion in 2 years. We went from 6 units up to over 60 units. And then we've also last year took on the letting side. So there's loads and loads of mistakes made in the last 12 months, but we've learned from them all. And now I've just hired 4 members of staff this week. Um, so we're just going through the growth phases of that. But the reason I want more clients is to be able to have more for the staff to go at, because right now it's just a matter of lots of staff doing lead generation on the back end because I've got a few virtual assistants and people dealing with the tenants. So I've worked out how I want to deal with tenant side of stuff. So kind of in my head I've ticked off how to deal with tenants and how to do that so I can pass that task on to somebody else. The projects, I already have a great team that runs them, so that's already down. So if I sell any project deals to clients, I've already got projects for that. I've got somebody for the back end, and now it's just bringing more clients that I can deal with. So bringing me more work, essentially, because that's what I do. I deal with the clients and face the public, whereas I want my teams to do the operations on the back end. Which in the last 12 months, I wanted to grow the business more than I did, but it was learning a whole new side of business because I'd never done lettings before. March last year, but we've got 80 tenants already, which is amazing for the first year of having tenants.
No, yeah, 100%. So, I mean, not focusing on one strategy, but to increase to expand the business, if that makes
Yeah,
sense, right?
yeah,
That is
yeah.
the main
That's the
focus.
next step. That's the next
Yeah,
step because I feel like in the last year we've gone from, well, in the last 24 months we went really quick, and then last year I had to learn something a completely different new lane, and it didn't dip in terms of thing. We just leveled out. I don't know. I don't like being level. I'd rather
yeah.
just keep climbing.
Yeah, no, of course. Okay, when somebody says, I mean, Ricardo, what kind of deals are you actually looking for? I know you're trying to expand the business, but if somebody comes to you and say, okay, Ricardo, what kind of deals are you looking for right now? How do you answer that in terms of, the area, the strategy, the numbers, like in
Yeah,
general?
so for me, I only operate in Carlisle at the moment. I can analyze a deal anywhere in the country, but I do only operate in Carlisle. So for me, what I'm looking for is anything that I can either turn into a house of multiple occupancy, so HMO, and put a few people in it, add value to the property, get the client or myself to either refinance the property and be able to pull it all out. People in the property industry will tell you all money out deals aren't real. But
Mhm.
I've never sold a deal that hasn't been all money out to my clients yet, except buy to lets. I've never sold a buy to let that's all money out because they just like to put the money in, get a double digit return, and they're happy. But for the buy, refurbish, refinance, every single deal we've done has been an all money out deal. Um, it's not to say they'll all be like that. I see the benefit in doing deals that aren't like that because some houses are going to be yielding a better return over longer terms, whereas some of the houses in the areas we have to buy in to be able to get the all money out deals aren't the best. I'll admit that, but for what we're doing, the model we're doing in the properties, it's just perfect. You're close to the city centre, you're buying cheap properties, you're making them fancy, and you're adding value to the people in it by saying, well, you've got better accommodation than pretty much anybody else in the city. So in Carlisle, prior to us, there wasn't many tenants having ensuite rooms. Now every single room we've got is an ensuite, so that's 80 rooms ensuite added in the last 12 months in Carlisle. Whereas in the past, I'd say there's probably 600 rooms to rent out in Carlisle. I'd say 50 to 80 of them were ensuite rooms. We've definitely doubled the capacity of ensuite rooms. So it kind of adds value to the whole area, I would like to say. So I feel like we've definitely added value to the whole area and made it seem like a little bit posher.
Yeah, no, so I did heard a little bit about that, story about what you're doing in your town. Do you live there in
Yeah,
Carlisle?
yeah. I live in the city centre. If I turn my iPad around, I'm like right in the middle.
Okay, no, that's good. That's good. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that you're focusing only on that area and you're trying to increase the value on that. So what would you say is the vision on your right now on your business by focusing on that specific area?
For me, it's less of a vision, more of I know Carlisle, so it's just easy. For me, I could look at a property and analyze it within a second, just because I know the location, so I know if it works or not straight away. So I know if it's good to look at. I know the prices for 90% of the streets. You could tell me a street name, I'd be able to tell you the range of prices. Probably also be able to tell you what's most recently sold in that street. Um, but yeah, for in terms of being in Carlisle, I've added over £25 million of property investments in the last 2 years into Carlisle. So I do just want to increase its value because the value of Carlisle increasing makes all the investments I've done with my clients to increase and just gives me future returns, really. I've got a lot of clients that I've sold deals to that I'd be buying the properties off them in 5 years' time. So I've also got that to look forward to, got those on lease options, so I've got agreed sales to them, and I can just carry on running the properties as I am and purchase them at the end. So then, if I solely single-handedly, which hopefully it's not, but if I single-handedly increase the value of the area, that only benefits me in the long run.
Yeah, no, of course. So it's not more like a vision, but it's something that you can actually do, and it's easier for you, right?
Yes.
So yeah, no, 100%. And what does a hell yes deal looks like you on 2026?
What's a
Like,
hell yes?
yeah, hell yeah. Like, paint the picture in detail.
A development that a building company didn't take on that is going to be between 50 to 75 units, and that's going to make £5 million profit.
All right, yeah, that is actually a hell deal, uh, of a deal. No, that's good. That's good. And on the flip side, what are like the instant red flags that make you walk away from a deal, right? So even if the headline numbers like look good.
So the three red flags that would make me walk away from a deal would just be as simple as saying poor yeah, the three red flags I'd say that would make me walk away from the deal would be poor people around that area. So your neighbours or racists, anything like that in that area. If you're going to put tenants in it, normally people that are in the HMOs, you'll get half of people who are just labouring jobs here or there in between jobs, and you'll get the other half people coming into the area, which most of the people coming into areas nowadays are not your white British, they are your foreign people, Africans, Middle Easterns, anybody. So you wouldn't want to put tenants when I'm looking at properties that I normally look at into those areas. Subsidence is a big thing. It's hard to notice sometimes in some properties, very easy to notice. Just essentially when the foundations of the property have either gone or they're starting to sink or there's a gap in them somewhere and it makes the house crack or it makes the house unlevel. That would be one. And then the last one is sounds silly to say, but if somebody else hasn't bought it, why is that? It probably is a red flag.
Yeah,
Time on the market is if it's been on the market for a while, then I would maybe think, right, okay, has everyone else been silly, or am I just not seeing what everyone else could see? Because nine out of 10 times there's going to be a reason.
yeah, You know, in those kind of cases where the property hasn't sale, let's say it's a no market property, right? What is the kind of strategy to get to know the property, let's say with an estate agent that manages the property?
So to understand what's wrong with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly, if it's with an estate agent, they'll tell you. They don't really hide it because you normally you normally can't hide it. Looking at a property, you go inside a property, you normally can't hide it if you know what you're looking for. Like check for most people buying houses, check boilers, check electrics. There's very basics. If electrics are within like 6, 7 inches from the floor, it's a worry. If there's any electrics on the wood baseboards or skirting boards, that's a worry. If the boiler looks older than your nan, that's a worry. If the house is
Yeah,
tired, it's a worry.
yeah,
Um, there's stuff like damp, you sometimes can't see it. If a house is freshly painted all white, it's generally a worry
yeah.
because they're
No,
hiding something. But apart from that, it's more of a knowing an area. Asking local people. We've bought a house or buying a house at auction with a client, and that property has got subsidence. I went and knocked on the neighbour's door to ask if he'd noticed anything. He was very rude, but I found out he hadn't noticed anything in his house, which he's gonna have a nice, high, healthy build in the next 5 to 6 years. Because I can already see the subsidence in his property too, but he's not noticed. So, but the fact he was rude made me not want to help him out.
yeah. No, that's actually a good point. Like seeing the people that is around, I would actually take
Yeah,
that in
just
consideration.
be as polite as just to go. If you're buying a house or looking at a house, be as polite as to go to the people next door, say, "Hi, I'm just looking at this. Have you got any information? If you don't, sorry for bothering you. If you do, come and have a quick chat."
Yeah,
Nine times out
exactly.
of ten, 9 times out of 10, people are like, "Oh, that's a nice person. That's a good way of speaking," and they'll go speak to you.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like somebody told me recently, the last guest told me, people in this property game, people buy people. That is
Yes.
actually true. Like I cannot be that is 100% correct into this, and that is exactly what you tell me. Like people buy people. So yeah, no, it's a people's game in here.
Well,
So you're yeah.
to add to that, I was told by an architect that was moving up here a few years ago, and he actually ended up doing a few jobs for me. He got his house by hand delivering a letter to all the houses that he wanted to live in, and just say, "Oh, this is my situation. This is my family." Sent a picture in the letter and just explained the situation. By being personable, he got a house off market for an amazing price that you wouldn't have been able to find it on the market. And that
Oh
was that
really?
was just that was just because he wanted a house in that area, so he just thought, well, I'll just do this, and that worked. That would also work for property investing. Say, we're looking
Yeah.
at buying houses in this area, we're going to be doing them up for X, Y, and Z. Um, and if it works, would you take a deal? That's also a good technique. It's letter dropping, but more effective.
Yeah, more personalized, if that makes sense. Because we also send
100%.
letters. Personalization is so important because I mean, into this world, like you see every single letter out there, and it's just the same thing, right, over and
Mm.
over again. And landlords are already a little bit, tired of hearing the same thing. So you want to be personalizing every single, like in every single possible way you can. So yeah, that's actually a good example. You told me. So yeah, no, 100%. Now, you of course mentioned that you do joint ventures and investing. So what type of investors are actually you're actually trying to attract now into your projects?
In terms of joint ventures, I either want somebody who's cash rich and just doesn't want anything to do with the thing, or somebody who's got experience, ideally still a little bit of cash too, but who's got experience in the game and knows where they want to go in the next 5 years, so we could have a little collective of stuff. I've got already joint ventures that I'm dealing with, but I'm happy to also have another side of portfolio, either A for flips or for HMO conversions and just refinancing them and building a portfolio and just taking that from 1 to 10 and then either looking to sell that onto a fund or keeping that for 15, 20 years, and then it goes to my kids, their kids, whatever. Just somebody that has at least a 5 year ambition, and then from then onwards we could work things out. But yeah, somebody who's ideally got cash but is looking for 5 years plus. I don't want somebody just in and out. Unless somebody wants to joint venture on a good flip. I'd love to do a good flip with an investor. I'm doing a couple for a client this year. One of them figures is 160 purchase, 42k refurb, and it's going to be end value of 300k. So that's a good one. And then the other one we're looking. I can't really say anything about the other one.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. No worries with that. Oh, okay, that's good. And I mean, to an investor that is actually listening to this, what is the idea profile of the person you want to reaching out after this episode? I mean, I know you said cash rich, but like I said, people by people. So, is there any aspect that you were looking for specifically?
Um, Motives. I'm doing it for my family. If people are just investing for money, which it needs to be there, if people are just investing for money and they're greedy, I don't want to deal with that. I can tell you what I don't want to deal with. That's the one.
Okay.
But to have a motive of just having a better life for your family is kind of something I would align with very much. But all in all, not really got a specific ideal. Just a client that is easy to get on with. Somebody who's personable. I could just have a pint with. If I could have a pint with you or a meal with you, have a chat with you, rather than somebody who, which I've had clients like this, they think they're better than, and is, oh, I'll speak to you and I can speak to you. That's not how things work. It's
All
we're in
right.
it together. If I need to get you any time between 7 in the morning and 9 at night, I should be able to, regardless, unless there's an emergency going on in your life. Same
Yeah.
for them. I would always be available for a client I'm directly working with.
All right. It makes sense. Um, yeah. How do you actually do your JVs? Like as a usual, like who brings what to the table? Do you do the sourcing? Do you do the management also? Like in those kind of cases, how are you structuring things with JVs?
So the last one I've done is essentially kind of how I do my sourcing, but just with they bring the finance and we just work together. It was actually a person who hadn't done property before, so I knew everything. They somewhat knew nothing, but they wanted to get into it. So what we've done there in the last 3 months is they've came in, brought the money. I've helped them find the financing in terms of bridging finance. I've sorted out the deal. So I've brought in extra part of the finance that way. Obviously, it was with their money, but we worked together. So we've done that. And now we're in the middle of purchasing the property and then I'll refurb it and then I'll get it refinanced and we'll just go again. And that person wants to create a portfolio of 13 properties. Once we're at 13, we'll go review it because that's mine and their lucky number.
All right, makes sense. And I mean, not coming into renting and or a little bit more into the landlords side of things. Do you offer any guaranteed rent for landlords? And
Mm-hmm.
if that's the case, what's your exact pitch to a tired landlord that is already sick of avoiding with headaches?
I've not got any old landlords. Every single landlord I've had so far, except three, I have already is just either through word of mouth or through me selling a deal to them and offering the guaranteed rent model. So in the last 2 years, I've sold over 60 deals. So that's how I've got pretty much most of my clients if they haven't been flips. Is I sell them a deal, I take the property on at the end after managing it during the refurb, if there has been a refurb. So I've not had to go out and find rent to rents like most people have to. So I've not really had a specific pitch, but my pitch, if I'm ever speaking to a landlord, is this is what I've got to offer, this is my portfolio, which is a lot easier than not having a portfolio.
Yeah, no, that's true. Having a portfolio is actually really, really important on this. But yeah, 100%. What you do in property finding and sourcing, that is for your clients or in general, like what's your process from lead to a secure deal? Like, can you break it down step by step?
Yeah, so I look at a property. nine times out of ten, as I mentioned, it's in my area, so I'll be able to analyze it there and then. So I'll be able to know if that type of property, because I normally need to look at two metrics: where it is, how far it is from the train station. As long as it's 20 minutes walk, it's doable for either Airbnb, buy to let, or a HMO. So then my next thing is floor plan. Does it have one? If it doesn't, what is the size of the property? I know if it's at least 75 meters squared, it can be a 4-bed property HMO. So I'd be more likely to try turn it into a HMO. If it's less than that, what is then the purchase price? Because if it's less than 80k, it's a good option for a buy to let with a high yielding return, as long as there's not 40k worth of work to do. 9 times out of 10, a property that's less than 75 meters squared is going to cost less than 25 grand to fix up. So it always has an option for me, if you can get it under that price, to be a good yielding buy to let with close to 10%, if not higher return. So if it's bigger than 75 meters squared, I'd look to turn it into a HMO, which I know I can get commercial valuations on and add an extreme amount of value. For example, one of the ones we've just completed on last week would be a property purchased for 84,000, refurbed for 81, and it was worth 300,000 at the end. And that's
Okay.
a 5-bed HMO.
Yeah, and that was your own deal, or is it a
No, that was
JV?
for a client. That was for a client. That was
Okay,
just
and
sourced. I got an
oh,
18k sourcing fee for that deal.
okay, that's good. That is actually decent. What makes like when it comes to your business, what makes the BDR different, from any other deal sourcing, in the market right now? Like, what's your edge in your patch on Carlisle and beyond?
I would say there's nobody in Cumbria that sells more deals than me, single-handedly. I don't even think any of the companies do it here, even try and sell more than 10 a year, which is crazy to say. So I've got a open hand in this market specifically. In terms of across the country, as I mentioned earlier, people don't really like to guarantee an all money out deal. If a client was to pay my sourcing fee up front, I can guarantee them within 2 months, I would find them an all money out deal. It'll cost them 20, 25 grand, depending on how many bedrooms they want in the property. But I have had in the last 12 months 26 deals and two clients pay me up front for that. And those two clients are now buying their second deal this time. I'm not going to ask them to pay up front because I trust they pay. But there were brand new clients that came from a source I'd never dealt with before. So I forced them to do that. Well, forced, forced it sounds bad, but I asked them to do that. They were happy to do that and they trusted me and found them the deal within the space of 2 weeks for one and 3 weeks for the other. And those two deals, I can tell you the figures for one of them, because the houses were next to each other. One of them was 99k purchase and 52k refurb. The other was 104k purchase and 54k refurb, and they got refinanced 250k, both of them.
All right.
So, and my fees were 20k for each of those deals. So they, after my fees and after their financing fees, they got all money out deals.
All right. That is actually good. So when it comes to, trying to deal source for clients or in general, how are you currently generating most of your opportunities? Is it like direct to vendor, on market with estate agents, auctions? Like, what's the
Um,
one best?
We've just done one at auction, but that was only at my second ever auction property because most of them go over asking price. So don't really like homes under the hammer. It makes everyone think that it's great. It's
Okay.
not. You normally catch a problem. Like for example, the one we've got at auction recently has got subsidence, so we're gonna have to deal with that. But most of the stuff I do get is on market, if I'm being totally honest. I just know how to analyze properties better than anybody else in the area, I'd like to think. So I can look at a property, either be able to offer more to be able to secure it, or be able to see the opportunity other people don't see.
All right. So you say even if you get it for a little bit more expensive, you still can get the numbers right. So we actually recommend for maybe somebody that is starting to deal source, we actually recommend him to, focus on one area and on that area, like in detail, rather than just focusing on a broad area.
Um, If you've got other income, yes. If you don't, it's hard to say because for me it was easier to do it that way because I already had Airbnbs in this area, so I knew I wasn't going to leave. Whereas with deal sourcing, if you want to do it as a job, you could earn 6 grand and dip for the next 2 months and just be roaming around the country trying to deal source for people. If you've got a client and they want it in a specific area, don't try too hard to convince people. People are stuck in their ways sometimes, especially
Yeah.
if you've not done it too often. For example, it took me probably a good year to get people to actually only want in Carlisle. And now sometimes I might have other opportunities come from people into other areas. I'm like, look at this. This is also a great return. People are like, no, no, no. I just want to do what you've taught me to do and what you told me to do, which sometimes bites you in the butt. But what I would say is, if you do stick to a patch and you become the owner of it, it makes it a lot easier going forward.
Yeah. Well, okay, 100%. That's actually a great view of what to focus on. Now, when it comes to, your like what is going on the market right now in 2026, how are you currently seeing the UK market from your angle? Specifically more in the north where you are right now, in terms of, BRR and HMO. Like, how's that going right now?
Um, Like any other market, yeah, I've noticed in the last 12 months it's gone up. We'd be able to get properties that I could convert into 4 beds 24 months ago easily for 80 to 90k, 3 of them a month. I'd only be able to find one for 90k a month now, and you'd have to really be looking at the 100 to 110k purchases, which makes it then harder unless I'm charging higher rents, which the market limits what you can charge. Makes it harder to get the valuations to be all money out. So I need the valuations to be higher to then be all money out because the costs are higher. My costs aren't getting any lower because I'm getting more and more and more and more experience. So I wouldn't charge any less for what I do because it is tedious, it's hard, it's long. There's a lot of hours, there's a lot of unthanked hours and unnoticed hours as well. But in terms of the HMO market, prices are rising for tenants. Everyone's catching up. Even the old houses that you'd be able to get in Carlisle for 350, 400 a room, they're now charging 500, 550, where we charge 600 for an ensuite room, but you're getting the same size room as you would be without an ensuite for £50 more. It's a much more attractive offer than what people are giving right now. And we also offer what most people, well, nobody was doing in Carlisle. It's beds, old style bed sits, but modern day. So nice kitchenette, brand new, full proper cooking facilities, full proper sink facilities with a lovely ensuite, laminated floors throughout, just kind of a hotel. We're offering hotel for tenants, which is exactly what they want. We
Yeah.
because of COVID and people not wanting to share stuff, it's made it a lot more apparent that everyone in a HMO should have a bed sit and the option to be in the communal area, not the obligation. People don't like to have to do a certain thing. They like the flexibility of I could go and be a tiny bit social, or I can just stay and be my little hermit self. That's what people like. They like the options.
Yeah. Okay, that's actually a good perspective. Would you say people are moving a lot more to the north rather than on the south because of prices?
Um, yeah, obviously, that's always going to happen. People are always going to migrate to where it's cheaper. But what I would say is, I can't say that for sure because I don't live in the south. I know a lot of people from London and those more expensive areas moved up here during 2020, 2021, just because you were trapped in the city and you weren't allowed to do too much. Whereas right now, I can't notice that as much. There is a lot more foreign people coming. That is very noticeable, but that was, I'd say, because Carlo was inherently extremely white. Now, if you see any color, you notice it a lot more.
Mm,
In an area like this, whereas if you were in a Manchester, Liverpool, Birmingham, Newcastle, Leeds, London, bigger cities, it wouldn't have been as noticeable the change. Whereas in this, we're a small city starting to notice big city diversity.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And yeah, that is true. Like, from what I saw, is that many people are just calling, for example, from what I saw, they call it Manchester the new London for property investment, right? I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
I don't deal with that kind of area, but I did saw a couple of people are actually moving to, the north. Newcastle is an area. Scotland also the little bit of people in there. Manchester, Liverpool, all those kind of areas. But it's just I think it's more like a normal thing, right? Every year is gonna happen that, right? It's just the market moving, and that's it, right?
Yeah, London's going to stagnate for the next couple of years. Everyone's seen it. The places like your Chelsea and your City of London, they've gone down in prices over the last 5 years,
Yeah,
drastically. So that might happen in the more affluent areas in major cities, but I don't think it's going to happen in the smaller cities. Like Carlisle, we've got an area that's just been redeveloped. I call it the Mayfair of Carlisle because it's the most expensive. Like
okay,
in Carlisle, you can get a flat for anything from 50 grand to 120. The flats there are 400k a flat for a one bedroom flat, so it's really, really expensive.
yeah,
Um, but stuff like that in a smaller city, that's only gonna like those flats are gonna be worth £500,000 in 2, 3 years time. Whereas in London, the same flat, if it was the same price, would be worth maybe 350 instead of 400 in 2, 3 years time, just because of the way it's going. People are trying to be in those big cities a bit less and understanding that the value hasn't gone up as much as the inflation has in those areas.
yeah,
Um, but I'd say Carlisle, specifically to the northwest, is in the perfect position. We're 2 hours away from Manchester, 2 hours away from Liverpool, 1 hour away from Newcastle, 1 hour away from 1 hour away from Glasgow, and 1.5 hours away from Edinburgh. So we're in the hub of five of the biggest cities in the north. So once we do the Union University here and the new train line and the few developments that are going on from people like Stories Home, Gleeson Homes. Carlisle should have a capacity of closer to 150,000 people by 2040. Then we should be starting to be recognised as a bigger city than what we are now, I'd hope.
yeah. No, that is actually good. Like, what I like about those small cities and people that go invest into them is just they want to make them grow. Like yourself, for example, right? You're developing a little bit on that area, and you're trying to make it better so people can live in there, right? So yeah, I actually admire that. So that is actually great.
Thank
Well,
you.
coming to a little bit more to your business, what do you think is your vision for BDR properties for over the next 2 to 3 years? Now you're telling me all of this that you're planning to do in Carlisle, right? So that is portfolio size, the team, geography, what kind of projects?
So you asked me what my best deal would look like in 2026, and I told you it's £5 million profit. That is going to be a development of between 50 to 75 houses. We're looking to acquire the land for that right now, and it's going to be about a £15 million development. So we'd be putting £15 million worth of value into Carlisle, and the GDV of that value would be 20 million. That's a deal we're looking to secure in the next month or two. So that's something in the banks right now with a client. Apart from that, what I'd want to do after that would be develop up to 500 rooms in the next 2 to 3 years. I've got a client that needs 100 rooms by the end of this year. We're looking to do probably 150 rooms in a different area of Cumbria with this client as well. And I want to have my own portfolio of properties of by the end of 3 years' time will be over 100 units. There'll be 100 buy-to-let units. That's what I'm looking to do. My own portfolio is just buy-to-lets. I know a bit counterintuitive. I always tell people to do the opposite, but for myself, when I choose to retire, buy-to-lets are going to be easier for me to operate with VAs rather than having people in here. I have two maintenance people run 100 properties and just VAs everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. That is good. That makes sense. Now, if the market tomorrow goes a little bit tougher, so that means rates go up, prices just wobble. Like, what is your game plan, and how would you pivot?
So if the rates go up, all I'd need to do is work out if that impacts the GDV, because normally it does positively impact the GDV. So you can counteract that into an explanation to clients. You're like, yes, you're going to pay more, but you'll either be able to pull more money out or have more equity in the property. So you can it depends on what specifically happens to what the specific answer would be. But if the rates go up, that would be my response to clients or business partners is, well, there's that negative impact, but there's a good impact. So which one do you want? You can't have zero. You have to have one, so you get the other.
Yeah,
If the market goes down, most of my investors will be totally fine because our properties get appraised on the commercial value, so the rental income, rather than anything else. Rents aren't going down, so rents only do one thing, and the goal is go up. If there's
yeah,
any more laws that come in, all that means to me is, can I charge any more rent? That's what most landlords think, but they don't say out loud.
yeah.
If
Oh,
the government make it difficult for landlords, we have to take the risk on and go, okay, that risk means extra X amount, or that might mean I have a little bit more void period, so I have to charge a little bit more to counteract that void period, so I'm not losing income. That's unfortunately business, and the government make business harder for the people renting. The government make it
yeah,
harder for renters. Get lying to them, well, not lying to them, but lying to them in a way by saying, we're going to give you this and it's only going to positively impact you. That's a barefaced lie. They know fine well. You do this, it means other people have to do this to eliminate the risk you've just created. We have to eliminate it. And they know they're going to be eliminated. The landlords aren't switched on. They'll want to eliminate the risk. They're doing this to have an easier life in a way. So they need to eliminate the risk. And the government know this. The government know they can just shaft landlords, and we have to take it. So unfortunately, there's only one way we can take it is eliminating the risk. And sometimes that means charging more rent, or being a little bit more frugal with the tenants we put in, so more people that need homes can't get them.
yeah. No, I think that's a good strategy. To be fair, right? I mean, it's interesting that you said when prices go down, the investors would actually, they would be calm, they would be chill, right? And that is,
If they know what they're doing, yeah, yeah. Some investors, especially investors with two or three less properties, could panic. But that's the worst thing to do. Panicking, selling, or panicking and moving a tenant out, or panicking, moving a tenant in, probably the silliest thing you'll ever do as an investor. You have to
yeah,
just go, right, okay, what is the actual reason X, Y, or Z is happening? And what are the actual impacts, and can any of them be eliminated? Which
yeah,
is why landlords go, okay, the tenants have more rights. If something happens, I need to increase the rent to minimize my void periods or minimize my potential loss.
yeah,
So
exactly.
that's why tenants always get shafted essentially, because landlords need to minimize their losses that the government are creating to get votes. The government create these losses for landlords to get votes, to stay in power. That's all they want is power. They don't care about the people. They just want to know, right, what buttons can I press to get more votes? So they push people's buttons and go, oh well, you're gonna get this and this and this if you vote for us. So vote for us. They get voted for. They sometimes do it. They don't do everything they say. They normally say 10 things, and if they'll say they're successful if they complete three of those things. And then they
Yeah,
complete three of those things, three of those laws get passed, and then the landlords go, well, that's three more risks for me. I have to fix those. That's going to be a 1 to 10% increase on your rent. So your 500 rent goes up to 520, let's say. Okay, that's only 20 quid to the landlord, but to a tenant that gets paid 1,500 a month, that 20 quid's a high percentage compared to most people's, or some people's financial income. It's a significant thing, because that could mean for some of the tenants that live in the UK but family are abroad, sending money back every week. That's a less £20 less, which in a different country is a lot more.
yeah. Yeah, that is 100% true. And now a little bit more on your kind of personal side. Like, can you share one deal story that actually changed the game for you? Like either like one of your biggest wins or your biggest downs, right? If that makes sense, right? Like what it went wrong or what it went good, and what did you learn from it?
So on this one, it's actually the same property for both. So my first ever deal that I took on, well, technically my second ever, because my first ever deal was the house I lived in, but the second ever deal I took on was a lease option agreement. That was the best ever deal, and it then became the worst because the person died. Um,
Okay.
not in the house.
All
So
right. Okay.
I'd found a property. I'd essentially organised to get a lease option. It was my second ever, third ever property I was looking at. No, fifth property I was looking at. The third was the one I bought. But yeah, so I got this. I was buying my house, so I didn't then have any money to put deposit down on this one. So I offered him a lease option, which, if you don't know what a lease option is, essentially rent the house and have the option to purchase it, but not the obligation. And then I was renting the property, which was two flats. I was renting the whole unit for £500 a month. I decorated it, made it look nice, new flooring throughout, put it on Airbnb. And on the best ever month, I made £6,500. On the worst ever month, I made £3,500. So from that one deal, I was financially free, as people like to say on the internet.
Yeah.
Um, and the lease option I had on that was to purchase it for 150,000. And I knew, talking to mortgage brokers and people in financing property, that I needed 2 years worth of Airbnb books to be able to legally refinance it as an Airbnb and to get commercial valuation on it. Because there's two flats, I would probably only be able to refinance it at maximum 240, minimum 180. So I wasn't 100% set on getting all my money out, so I wasn't 100% set on doing it. So sorry, I got my 2 years worth of books on there, and I was about to like complete because I had a 3 year lease option. I was going to complete on it, purchase it, and it was going to be worth £434,000 according to the books that I'd gave. So I was going to be able to buy the property and pay that debt off of 150 that I was going to purchase it with, and then still have about 170k worth of equity in the property as well. So I was going to be able to get a loan of 320, refinance it, pay the mortgage off, and still be making about 2.5 to 4 grand a month profit, and have 170k left to be able to do more deals with. But as I was in the process of doing that, the person died
Okay.
because when we'd originally set up the deal, we tried to do it through solicitors and stuff, but the mortgage company declined us at the start. We just did it man to man. The person had died, so I was legally with him, the only person in the world allowed to buy that property in those 3 years. So I showed the repossession, not the repossession, but I'm not sure the term right now, but is essentially somebody who takes up over people's estates when they die or in debt. So
Probate.
it wasn't probate, it was something else, but I can't think of it at the top of my head. Um, so essentially, I became the only person. So I sent all the documents and all communications showing what the deal was and saying I can offer the purchase price right now of the property, and they went, "Oh, that's not sufficient enough. Where's your proof of this and that?" I was like, "Well, here's my offer of the mortgage, of the bridging finance, and all the finances. Can I purchase the property, please?" They went, "Oh no, that isn't sufficient. You need the X, Y, and Z." So I tried to get X, Y, and Z, and after probably about 4 or 5 months of back and forth, they went, "No, because of what you had done in the property and not having it go through the mortgage, you are now the only person." Well, they didn't say it like this, but they said you are now not allowed to purchase the property. So I became the only person allowed to buy the property to the only person in the world not allowed to buy the property.
Okay.
So I turned that into still a win and sold the deal to a client. The client ended up buying the property for £110,000, which is a real kick in the teeth because I offered them £40,000 more.
Yeah. No, I mean that's actually an interesting story. You said that the buyer was not allowed to. to buy property.
No, I wasn't allowed to buy the property. I don't know what the company, why, I still to this day don't understand why they didn't let me buy it. I had everything in
Okay.
place. I had everything in place, a bridging offer with the end valuation that I'd agreed with. So with this bridging company I was working with, I was like, this is I showed them my books and went, this will be the end figure once we refinance it. We just need to purchase it. And they were gonna give me 50% of the end value, which would have been 216K or something like that. So I was gonna get close to 220,000 and I only needed to give them 150. So I was going to spend the rest of the money on doing the property up and then obviously get it refinanced at the end as well. But yeah, I showed them all the paperwork, everything, proof of what I said, and then I wasn't allowed to purchase it. I still don't understand why. But I believe from what I gathered, it was because I had a man-to-man deal with the owner, but
Mm.
they didn't say that black and white. They kind of scurried around the questions every time I asked, and they were really arsy with me. But yeah, it went from the best deal ever to losing out hundreds of £1,000s worth of equity.
That's crazy. No, that is actually a good story, to be fair. And okay, now wrapping up everything, to the people that are actually seeing this, right now, what you're actually looking for, more of like investors, JB, are you looking for landlords, guaranteed rent, buyers for sourcing deals, or is it something else?
No, as I mentioned earlier, I think we're just looking for investors at the moment, looking for more clients to either work with in a selling deals to them capacity or investors that want to work with proven and tested people in property industry like me that want to do a deal, maybe do one with me and then go off on their own, or do one with me, build a portfolio of 10 where they can finance it. I can either hold the hand through the deal or do the whole deal without them knowing, and then they're happy to get a refinance on the property and just get monthly revenue from that at the end. Happy in any capacity, really. I'm flexible. I've done 60 deals now completed, in the process of with clients doing about 8 or 9 more right now. We've got 14 properties through refurbs with trusted builders that we've got. So yeah, very, very, very active. But we've got, because of the stuff I've added, I've got scope for more, which I want to fill.
Yeah, okay. No, that's good. So that's for the people that are actually hearing this. So if you're an investor or you're looking for more deals, then go ahead, contact Ricardo. He's a little bit on the north. So yeah, and one final one. If you could give one piece of advice to maybe a new investor who wants to build, um, like the things you are building right now, what kind of advice would it be?
Um, Get in with the council. They make it a lot easier. The council can give you off-market leads. They know if you're going to do HMOs specifically. They know all the landlords. They know where all the good properties are, where they won't be. If you have a good relationship with the HMO officer, they'll tell you exactly what they want in that area. Just build what they want, make sure it's commercially viable, and then you'll know you're in for a winner every single time.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great. That's a great piece of advice. Um, but yeah, I think that's everything from my end. We've been through a good amount of questions and really good info, to be fair.
Thank you.
I'm surprised. Really good info for that. So yeah, thank you so much, Ricardo, for coming in. Thank you for the knowledge that you're sharing here. So yeah, thank you so much, and thank you so much for the people that are watching this. Make sure you subscribe and give us a like. But yeah, thank you so much, Ricardo.
Thank you, Fabian. Appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you.